Okay, Cutter, Cash, Brennan.
That's right.
Right. That's it.
You know, when I started watching you all, I was so surprised at your age. 17?
That's it.
14?
There you go.
Brennan, you're the oldest one.
Don't worry about me.
But it's amazing. You are, I have to say, you're my youngest guest I've ever had
Is
on
that
my
right?
show.
Well,
So
we're
there
honored.
you
Happy to
go.
do it. We're
very
honored.
Don't let her down.
we got to keep everything up here.
But I'm so excited. So you guys are awfully young, but we're going to go back a little bit. I want to know how you even started this. Love your look.
Well, thank
Well,
you.
thank
you very much. It really kind of started, I was 4 years old, and I was riding in the back seat of Mom and Dad's car, and we were driving around. Actually, we're from Western Kentucky, and so we were actually driving around in the elk and bison range at the land between the lakes over there. And they have, you can pay and you can go through and see these elk and bison. I just thought that was the greatest thing, you know. And so I guess Cash would have been, he'd been one.
I
So
was
he would have been
little
with us,
bitty.
but of course,
I didn't remember.
no. So I heard on the radio, we'd tuned into a local radio station, and they'd play the Ballad of Jed Clampett, the old Flat and Scruggs standard that was used on those television programs, Beverly Hillbillies. And I heard that, and I said, Mom, what is that? What is that? You know? And she said, well, that's bluegrass. I said, well, what is that instrument? You know, I knew enough about it to knew what an instrument is, you know, a guitar, but I'd never really heard of a banjo.
4 years old.
4 years old. And she said, well, that's a banjo. I said, well, I want a banjo for Christmas. And so Christmas time come around, I had turned 5 in September, and so that was just a little bit before then. So I had turned 5, and New Year's Day of that year, I took my first banjo lesson. That had been 2012.
Well, what was it like to open that banjo at Christmas morning?
Well, I was really upset. I was very upset because I didn't see the banjo at first. And I opened everything, and there was no banjo. And my mom and dad said, well, look behind the tree. And I turned around there, and that banjo was sitting there wrapped up in a case. So you could tell what it was, and it just tickled me to death. I will never forget seeing that. 5 years old, that right there was what sparked it all. I said, won't you let me come on with you and play banjo for my group? And so I played there with him locally, and that was great. And I got a lot of experience as far as showmanship and how to handle a stage. I guess I sparked an interest in him.
That's right.
And
Maybe
how
a
old
little
were you?
competition involved there.
And how old were you then?
Whenever I started, I was 4 or 5. And I played it throughout 2019, I guess. And then I swapped over to mandolin. I don't have it as interesting a
what
story.
instrument did you start when you were young?
Guitar.
Guitar.
So it's banjo and guitar, very
Okay.
similar to the
Flat
Flat
and
Scruggs
Scruggs.
style show, which is kind of what we had styled it after. You know, had the hats like we're wearing in the old colonel ties, you know, as they call them, and that's kind of what we had styled it after, which we still draw a lot of, you know, inspiration from Flat and Scruggs, and then a lot of the heroes of bluegrass, you know.
You know, I love your style. I love your look.
Thank you.
Who inspires you?
There's lots of people that inspire us, and I think that's important. You know, I try to take something away from everybody that I'm around, whether it's good or bad. You can learn something from them, you know, and what to do or what not to do. So I try to draw a little bit of inspiration from everybody that I am around. I think that's important. I really do.
What about you, Cash?
I'm about the same way. We draw a lot of inspiration from everybody, from Flat to Scruggs to even Porter Wagner with the rhinestones.
That's, you know, his name came up when I started looking at your style, and I thought, boy, they're bringing back the Porter Wagner.
We're big Porter fans. We love Porter.
But there's been so many bluegrass heroes that they've paved the way to allow new generations to do what we're able to do today. So we have to pay them some respect.
Now, we have a mutual friend, Jeannie Seeley. She's been on my show. Absolutely love her. But she loves you guys too, doesn't she?
We sure thank the world of her. We love her. We really do.
We
I can say that with 100% confidence. We love Jeannie Seeley. We really do.
There's a story about you guys going to the Grand Old Opry when you were little, right?
That's correct.
ma'am.
Tell me about it.
It was my first time, both our first time at the Grand Ole Opry House. We'd been to see a show at the Ryman, and I wanted to do that. You know, we started out early on, and I got to learn that history, you know, and so I wanted to go there. And so it worked out, was able to do that. It was during the winter time.
How old were you then?
I would have been 8. And so I saw my first Opry show. And so a few years later, we went to the Grand Ole Opry House and saw the show there. And Jeannie was there. Of course, we dressed up as...
Suits and ties,
we
hats.
played the
So
part.
you were 8 and you were
5 or
five.
6, I guess.
Okay.
And so went out and sat. We were on the third row. I can tell you exactly where we were sitting, right in front of Eddie Stubbs. And we were sitting there on the third row over
right
there,
side,
over there by the announcer. And Jeannie come out. It was Jeannie and Bobby Osborne. She was hosting that night, and Bobby had come out and he did Rocky Top, you know, his usual set, and that was just great to us because we were huge Osborne Brothers fans. And so saw them do Rocky Top and all that, and she said, "I told you all you know that music," you know, and she'd set it up like that before. And she come right over to the side of the stage and she said, "I want to point these boys out right here." She said, "That's future generation of good musicians right there, I can tell." And I just looked at Cash, I was like, oh my gosh. And so they brought the house lights up, put the spotlight on us, asked us to stand up and wave at everybody. And she said, we'll find out more about those boys later. And she turned it back to Eddie Stubbs. He said, "I think I've still got those ties at home." You know, it was a real neat thing. But I never in a million years would have ever dreamt that we would be as close as we are with Jeannie now.
We're so blessed to be able to do this. And looking back on it, it's just lined up perfectly, you know. And it's just amazing, to be honest with you.
It really is, and what a great show that was. Jeannie called us back to sing a song with her during that show, and we lined up several other things. And a little bit later, I guess 6 or 8 months or so, she sent us a song to do called "Call of Kentucky." And so we were able to, we heard a little bit of a demonstration that she'd done on that. She sent us a demo, and the Osborne Brothers had actually done that with her. And so it was a bluegrass song. And she said, "We'll see what y'all can do with that." And so we played around with it. And we were in Nashville not too long after that. And Lynn Owsley, they talk about how things just totally off the wall, strangely line up. Lynn Owsley had called and he said, "Come on down." He said, "Junior Brown is going to be down here at Nashville." He said, "He's going to be playing." He said, "I know you're a big fan of Junior Brown's." I said, "So come on down and see Junior." Well, I called Jeannie. I said, "Well, we having nothing going on. Thought that might be something good for us to do. Go grab lunch or supper after or something and then go see Junior." Well, she had something else going on, but Gene, her husband, wanted to go. We're big fans of Gene Ward, too. And so Gene went with us, and Jeannie dropped him off down there, and we took him back home after the show. But anyway, he dropped in, and we waited and waited for Junior Brown, and Junior was at the Opry that night. But Junior got tied up at Soundcheck or wherever, and it wasn't able to go. So I thanked Lynn, which was a Texas troubadour, and worked for Ernest Tubb. He's done all kinds of cool stuff. But I told him how much we appreciated it and enjoyed what he did, his show. And so we left, took Gene back home, and he said, "Well, y'all got to see the river." And so I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to get to go inside the house.
Because we see the pictures on Facebook every week or every day about Jeannie Seeley's River Post.
So took off, went inside the house, and we talked out on the back deck for about 3 hours, just about all kinds of stuff. She said, "Well, I'm hungry. What do you say we go to Cock of the Walk?" And so that's what we did, and we took off. And whenever we sat down and talked to the table there, and whenever we left that evening, we had a session booked for our first recording session to make our first records. And that was just totally bizarre to me.
We didn't sleep
I
for
know,
a
and you
few
guys
nights.
have already been on the Grand Old Opry recently.
That's true.
Yes, ma'am. We couldn't do anything without him, and believing in him and praying to him, and
He's a good guy.
that's
isn't he?
right. He sure is.
We're going to listen to one of your songs when we come back. We're going to talk about your school and what it's like still being in school and traveling and touring. And guys, I want to hear the song that you played on the Grand Old Opry.
All right, let's do it.
Let's
A little bit of Mamas. Don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys.